Hello and welcome to this episode of the Like, Click and Share podcast, episode 2 in fact. I'm Darren Winter and with me are Gemma Walton and Emma Krause. Hi both.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
And if this is, go on.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was me, Darren. If this is your first time listening, I'm Gemma. We all work in marketing and communications, whether as business owners or freelancers, and we're here to talk you through the latest big topics in marketing and how they can grow business, whether you're a freelance business owner or just interested in how marketing can help you.
And I'm Emma, and I'm here just to say a big thank you for listening to us, and hopefully you'll find this podcast helpful and interesting. We'd love to hear your comments and questions, so you can email us. You can email me, emma@ducodigital.com, or you can find us on social media via Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. We've got it all covered. Or just search for Ducode Digital. All the links are in the show notes, and please don't forget to hit subscribe so you can automatically receive this every episode. You'll never miss an episode, and you'll be with us each month right now. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So the topic of this episode is how to capture and retain audiences on social media. So an interesting topic. So what tips can we give to our listeners to use social media feeds to help them engage users more in their kind of daily social media activity? So Emma, you're going to kick off with Instagram. Gemma's going to give us some tips about live video, which is going to be great because that's definitely been a trend during COVID. And I'm going to do a roundup on LinkedIn with a couple of things that you perhaps definitely maybe don't know about LinkedIn that you could use on your profile. So there should be something here for everybody. So Emma, over to you.
So it's such a huge topic, I think, capturing and retaining audiences and engaging them. I think the one thing I would say all the time, and I find myself saying to people all the time, is remember it's called social media for a reason. And so you must be social. So you must capture and you must retain and you must engage. You must answer people back the same and say hello. They're just exactly the way you would in real life. And that it's social media for that very reason. I particularly love Instagram. That's my home. I think it's because I'm a 40-year-old woman, but that's where I particularly like, and I think I like the aesthetic of Instagram and the way it works, and so that's where I naturally like to talk and like to land. I think Instagram has its goal in holding your attention, and you have to talk about Instagram in 2021 with the factor and the introduction of Reels. Reels was born in 2020, some say, as a response to TikTok and the growth of their ability to make short, engaging videos. And so Instagram Reels came out of that. It was a development of Instagram Stories that then became IGTV and then again into Instagram Reels.
Did you ever use IGTV? I used it a couple of times. I didn't think it was that good, to be honest.
Yeah, I've used it to return to other things that other people have done. So conversations that people have had as live talks, but I haven't been able to watch them at that time. So it's a good way to view longer, almost like a webinar, longer pieces of streaming that you can go back to and watch. So I've used it quite a lot like that. But the Reel is, I suppose, an edited version. It's a way to edit quick videos inside Instagram as a platform, isn't it? So add funky pointing and to add all your captions and music. So it's just a way to edit that within the platform. But it is definitely true for capturing attention, stopping that scroll, getting people to engage very quickly. And you can be very clever to get a message across and do it in quite a funky aesthetic if you want to, or very easy. I used it this week to learn how to paint over some frog tape without getting a bleed. Yeah, I am 40. And then so it's really good. But so it is just very clever for that.
Do you want to tell people what you do? Because you've got your own business, haven't you? And in interiors and crafts and things like that.
So I own Light Up North, which makes EL neon lights for basically the interior market. And so we are constantly working to innovate new products, and we're constantly working to hold our space in an interiors market. And we've had a lot of success on Instagram, just because it's a natural home where people want to look for good photography and good aesthetics. So it's been a good place for us to sell our product. And Reels, we've been playing with them and starting to use them. It's about confidence, the same as it is for us, for everybody, and wanting to do something that's good. I really love the work of Helen Perry, helenperry.com, and she's on Instagram as Helen Perry, and her tagline is just bloody post it. Do it, just post it, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And so that you should definitely do that with your reels. You should just start doing them, and it doesn't have to be some kind of MGM studio production. It really is a 15 to 30 second amateur collection of videos, so you can just show your face and show your product and show the process a bit of your brand story. And it's just an easy way you can do that on your phone. So for small businesses, it's ideal and cheap and flexible and accessible, and a really great way to build your brand and increase your growth. It's very difficult to grow on Instagram. It's much harder than it used to be now. However, Reels is a good way to be found, and you can still be found with hashtags. And it's a better way to grow your following than through stories. It's hard to grow your following that way, but Reels is a great way because you'll be found through the Explore app, and it's a good way to grow to new audiences with Reels.
So if you, just because not everyone may have used Reels before then, so if, say, I'm just posting my normal regular content on Instagram, like images, and then if I do a Reel, will that go in the same feed, or that goes in a different feed?
So you have within your mainstream feed, you can yes, post it, and then you can also post it onto your story. But then within the Instagram app, it will be posted within the Explorer part of Instagram. So new people will find you and increase your audience that way. Whereas it's very difficult to do that just through stories. It is through your post, as long as your hashtag strategy is right.
Yeah.
And we should talk about that. Come back in a few weeks' time, everybody, and we'll talk hashtags then. But and we'll really help you with that. But in terms of right now, in terms of capturing and retaining your audience on Instagram, it's all about Reels. And it's a return, I think, to Instagram's roots of authenticity and it being the instant nature of it. And they want, every Instagram's audience just wants handmade videos, homemade, authentic videos of your brand, of what you're there to do. So
what I'll do, I'm going to see if I can try and get a link to one of your Instagram Reels. I'm going to pop it in the show notes. Hopefully we can do that, or just point people in your direction and they can see what you're doing with Reels to give them some motivation, give them some ideas.
I did one on Sunday. It's a little bit off my brand, of Light Up North, but it's quite a good one. I did one about my vaccine, having my vaccine on Sunday, and I had one. So all of Sunday, but I felt I was quite surprised how my vaccine took me, to be honest. When the day came, I just had this massive gratitude all day long. I was so excited to be having it. It was a very off podcast. The whole day, so I decided to make a reel about it because it became like this happy vaccine day for me, and I just left with overwhelming side effects of gratitude. I got quite emotional.
I'll tell you what.
What was in your
the next
So
one.
yes, go check it out. I think I captured it very well in a reel, and I didn't really mean to. There's a bit about I was on the beach with my kids in the morning, and my reel, and then I had my vaccine. You see it, you can see me having my vaccine in this reel, and
I
I.
think you've been for the wrong vaccine, Emma.
I was going to say, don't advocate the use of drugs when taking a vaccine.
Honestly, go and have it. And my reel, I thought worked brilliantly. And
I saw your reel, mind. I did like your reel, but I did wonder which vaccine you'd been for.
oh, yeah, I was a vaccine.
My vaccine experience wasn't like that.
I honestly, I was out of the house about 6 minutes. The kids didn't even realise I'd been. They were like, I got home, and the children were like, "Are you going?" I was crying, saying, "No, I'm not going to die anymore. It's okay." Yeah, check out the reel.
Yeah. What's your next couple of tips?
So that's my got to engage and you've got to grow with reel. Instagram's advice is that you should post 4 to 7 reels a week, which is quite a lot. And I think it's like all things on social media. It feels overwhelming to begin with, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And actually, I got my 12-year-old to help me do the editing on that role, put the writing in the right place. And these are all just skills that the more you do them, the more you turn up on camera, the more comfortable you will feel, and all of those things. You really are talking about a 30-second burst of content, and it's really effective. Also, the other last really important point is that Instagram Reels, the same as TikTok or any kind of video, is evergreen content. You are making it once and is searchable forever. So you can use it on different platforms. You can move it from TikTok, you can use it to YouTube, you can use it to Pinterest, but that content is not going to disappear. Whereas if you do a post, a static post in other places, such as Facebook, Instagram main feed, Twitter, LinkedIn, that is going to disappear very quickly. So all that work that you're putting into that post has quite a short lifespan, a little expectancy, whereas reels are evergreen content, so they stay forever. So they're going to be viewed much more frequently and over a much longer lifespan. So the energy, again, as a small business that you put into creating this content is going to serve you longer. And I love that about them.
So just for anybody who doesn't know, like when you're sharing videos and content on Instagram, you can just click the little slider buttons and click it for Twitter and Facebook. So you can get kind of the post on the other channels at the same time as your Instagram one. But you're saying on Reels that obviously you can re-download. Can you re-download that video content you've created and put that onto Pinterest and YouTube then?
Yeah,
okay.
you can save it onto your phone, and you can repurpose it elsewhere. And also
that's fab.
Save it in your Instagram comments, in your highlights as reels and stuff, and they will be explorable. They will be they're easier to find for far longer. They will serve you longer. And so you're still using hashtags, you're still using all of these tools to get your content found, but it will deliver for a much longer lifespan than a one-off post.
And Gemma, we were talking between all of us, weren't we, just before we started recording today, that you were saying that you spend quite a lot of time on Instagram. So do you use Reels yourself?
I haven't used Reels myself, not for any particular reason. I haven't posted a lot on social media recently. Not because I just felt that I haven't had that much to share because of everything else that's been going on. Do you know what I mean? So you haven't been out everywhere, so there hasn't been that, and I haven't wanted to put loads of content that's like old posts, like from time hop and stuff. So I haven't shared a lot of stuff recently, but I do spend probably the most time scrolling through TikTok and the most time scrolling through Instagram and watching Reels, and probably the least amount of time, although I do spend a little bit of time having a look at Twitter. Facebook, I probably am on the very least, and LinkedIn I do spend a little bit more time on, obviously, because it's like work related, but I think the content on Instagram and TikTok really appeals to me. I'm quite into like photography and videos, and I think, again, like what Emma, you alluded to earlier on, it's the like authenticity. It's seeing people, it's being able to see what kind of person they are, what kind of personality this brand has. Is it the kind of brand that you want to like go and buy something from? Do you like what they say? Do you like what they're doing? And I think it's the real, like, Instagram and TikTok, and obviously Instagram Reels, it's the way for a brand to show their personality. And I think everything now is leaning towards these 50-second videos, 30-second videos, minute-long videos, short form content, as opposed to the longer form content that you'll see on YouTube and stuff. I still think there's a market for it, but I think people, it's a time thing as well, isn't it? People have got time to do 15 seconds, 30 seconds a minute, rather than sitting down and doing like an hour-long video that YouTubers might have done a few years ago. Everything's changed, and changed quite quickly.
And it's a lot of time. I mean, Emma was just saying there, but it's a lot of time to think about creating a video, let alone sort of creating maybe like half an hour, or hour and a half. And I think the whole hype, isn't it, about kind of videos that the media says almost makes it look easy, that you can earn millions of dollars or pounds on YouTube. But actually, it's really tough. I know I've listened to a lot of other podcasts, particularly music and gaming, where people put their literally giving up their jobs and doing this like daily for years and hardly not making very much money. So yeah, don't feel that this is really easy. You do have to have a strategy, and you have to have a bit of a niche. I feel that to make the success of this.
And what we definitely saw in the pandemic, when suddenly advertising companies were shut down and people couldn't go out and film glossy adverts in the street and everything, we definitely saw a growth of user-generated content. We definitely saw big brands turning to influencers, making stop motion things on their films, on their cameras at home. And I've seen some really, really incredible content made by creative people, literally in their sitting rooms with their iPhones. And that is a huge trend for all digital marketing, for small brands and little brands, who basically have the same, it's the biggest leveler ever, isn't it? That these people have had for 6 months the same opportunities. It wasn't about budget or access to glossy studios anymore. It was about what you could whip up in your kitchen with your phone. And I've seen some really incredible user-generated content that's not going to go backwards. People have enjoyed that, and that's been a relief out of the pandemic, this return to authentic content.
Absolutely. So with that said, so Gemma, you've got some tips about live video and that for us.
Yeah, so I think these are probably relevant to going live on Instagram, going live on Facebook. One fact that I did come across was 82% of people prefer live video from a brand over a standard social media post.
Wow.
But obviously, with live video, there are a lot of challenges. So some of the challenges that you have are low figures, delayed starts, people don't introduce themselves, you don't know what you're there for. People get distracted when they're trying to get set up. Sometimes people don't realise that they've gone live. They've got an audience there, and they're waiting for people to come, and they're already out there. They go straight into the content without giving anybody like any reason for them to be there, and they sometimes just go off on a tangent. And it's like what you said at the start of yours, Emma, social media, so it's about engaging with people. So even though you are going live, and people go live for many reasons, you can go live because you want to have if you're a celebrity, you want to have a chat with your fans, you want to give them the chance to get to know you. And again, that's the same with a brand. You might want to do that as well. You might have a new product or service that you want to sell. But it is quite difficult. But I think it's about being attractive to your audience, about being authentic to your audience, about your it's about your audience being able to reach you and knowing, like, I guess, what's in it for them. You know, what are they going to get out of it if they're giving up their time? So I think one of the things that's quite difficult with lives are people who are your audience can become very easily distracted. So you're not always getting that engagement. Sometimes they talk amongst themselves in the live stream, in the chat, you know, so you're trying to read through to see if you've got any questions or what people are saying, but really they're talking to each other.
Yeah.
So I think there were a few like things. I think even with a live, it's the same as with a video, like what you were just saying before about you do still need to have some structure to your short form videos, to your reels, to your TikToks. So that is the same for your live stream as well. So I would say there's probably a bit of a structure to that. So you want to give people an introduction, let people know, even though the people who are on there probably do know who you are, there will be some people who don't. So you want to set the scene, introduce yourself, say why you're there, what the purpose of the day's live in, what you do, how you can help people, and then while you're, I don't know, promoting your product or service, or just having a chance to go live, just to engage with your audience, you're asking people to comment things, or maybe comment things about your brand. Why do they like it? What do they think about the new product that you're discussing at the minute? So you're getting that engagement for people. You can see what they say. You're asking them questions about them. Having some calls to action in there as well, because people do need to know what they need to do, either to join you for the next live, whether or not it's to sign up to an event, whether or not it's to follow you. You need to tell people, so you need a really strong call to action in there as well. And then you need to have like an outro as well, the same as with your video. So something that you say at the end, so a bit like you do at the end of a podcast, or a bit like you do at the end of a video case study, where you tell people where they can follow you, the different channels that you're on, give you video link. So I think it's all about having a bit of structure. You shouldn't just go live almost like for the sake of going live. You know, I think like a brand really can't just be going like you wouldn't want to go live just when you're out at the club, Darren. Do you know what I mean? On a Saturday night for no reason. But you might want to go. You would want to go live to talk about how you could help people with a new website, you know, or some of the AI courses that you do. But it is, I do think it is very much about the structure and the authenticity.
Yeah, I think it's really important just to take that, and it doesn't need to be very long. And like Gemma just said, really, if you think back to, well, if you're like in your 30s and 40s, think back to when you were at school, you write a story, beginning, middle, and end. And it's the same with any social media post. You need like this bit at the beginning, what it's about, like the introduction, and then kind of the main body, and then kind of like either a link or click, or there's going to be an instruction about what you want people to do, unless you're just saying, you know, you're just throwing something out there for the sake of throwing it out there. But if you tend to do too much of that, it'll just fizzle out anyway. I often see lots of social media posts going out, especially on Twitter. And just to give an example, there was one the other day that was talking about an event. It was a sales event, but actually didn't put a link to the website. So they say, come and see our great sort of sales event. And it's like, well, where is it? Like, there's no details of when it was, what the actual, you know, what was going on, or so then you have to hunt about, and a lot of people just won't bother. So you kind of miss that opportunity. But there's quite a few of them on their feed, and it's almost like somebody just forgotten to put the last little bit there. And it can happen when you're really busy and you're writing lots of these posts, or if somebody's just hassling you to get something out, you do just rush it through. I think taking a few extra seconds to either reread it or give it to somebody else or come back to it the next day, which I often feel is sometimes the best thing. And then, you know, hopefully you're getting it right first time. What do you reckon, Emma?
Yeah, and I think clarity, an important part of engagement is clarity. People know why they are there to follow you, and they want you to deliver that. And it's fine. They won't follow you if you're not delivering what they're looking for. If you're trying to sell them neon lights but go on about your vaccine all day, they're not there to hear about their vaccine. They're here to see about your neon lights. So and they won't follow you. So clarity is an important part of that, and being helpful. So exactly that, you're trying to promote your sale but aren't helpful for how to find that sale. People just move on to the next thing, because it's harder to stop scrolling than it is to engage. So you've got to stop their scroll, and clarity and engagement is an important part of that. It's hard. I know it's really hard, but that's the bit to nail.
Brilliant. Gemma, have you got anything else you want to add on live video?
I think I've got a couple of facts, because I know people talk a lot about like Facebook almost not being over, but not being a channel that people particularly use as much as the likes of Instagram and TikTok now. But I do know that a lot of people use Facebook for live, and particularly for like live events.
Yeah.
And I've got just a couple of figures here that made me like think, wow, that I wouldn't have even thought that. But 700 million people use Facebook events to market their events, even virtual ones.
Wow.
And 35 million people view a public event on Facebook every day, which I was really shocked at when I came across that. But I do think the short form video content, the stories, the going live is key now, because I do think people do want to. It's not just about like old school. I mean, it is, but I think it's less important making sure that like your brand, the colours are bang on, the logo's there. It's more about seeing the people behind the brand, and how the brand is, what kind of personality the brand's got. Do you relate to the brand? Do they stand for the same kind of social values and things that you stand for? Can you see behind the scenes? Does it look like the type of place that either you might want to work, so you would want to buy from them? I think it's less about making sure that everything is perfect. And I think now people, it's not, it doesn't matter if you make a mistake when you're on a live. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake when you're doing a podcast, because it's real. It's real. It's real people having like real conversations, and I think that's what people want. They want to see like brands that they can relate to. And even like going back to what you were saying before about like influencers and stuff, and being able to sell products and services during the pandemic, and that there's so many different levels of influencers now, from like people right at the top to like, I think they call them nano influencers now, that might only have a few thousand followers, but they're also the type of people that brands want to reach out to and give stuff to promote on Instagram, because they have got a big following, and they will be able to influence their following to be able to, I don't know, buy that hoodie or buy that hat, or like sign up for this event or whatever. I think there's been a real shift. I think there's still, obviously you've got the, I don't know, like the Jake Pauls, the Tana Monjos, the Charlie D'Amelio's, people like that. But then you've got influencers on a much, much smaller scale that you might know because you worked with them or you're just friends with them. I think there's been a shift away from maybe some bigger type celebrities, because they are very expensive. Brands now can't afford them, because some of them, when you see how much they're making per post on Instagram, it's like it's crazy money, whereas the nano influencers, like, they've got friends, they've got more of a loyal following, I think, because you do actually know the person, as opposed to just following the person and watching their like celebrity lifestyle.
And there is a big question over plus the ethical use of influencers, I think, just as a whole, but also just for brands as well, because like you said, the longevity, and based upon cost, it's very questionable what you can actually get back on the return on investment. Well, we're approaching time, and I just want to share a few tips just on LinkedIn before we close up, and there's some good ones here. So first one I'm going to kick off with is that, did you know you can have a separate language on your profile in LinkedIn? So this is great if you're bilingual or if you're thinking of expanding your business overseas. And I'm going to put the link to how to follow the steps. It's very, very easy. It doesn't do the translation for you, so you will have to get it translated. We do recommend you don't just use Google Translate to translate your profile, because it does throw up some interesting things in local languages. So maybe just pay somebody, on Fiverr or Freelancer or something like that, just to get it right for you. It'd be very embarrassing to kind of use the wrong terms unless you're reasonably competent in that language. So that's the first one. The second one is, maybe some people know about this, but I was training somebody a few months ago, and they didn't really understand this. So it's obvious to maybe not to others. But if you're overhauling your LinkedIn profile, if you're updating that, you can set it to private mode just for a short time. Just go to privacy settings and edit your profile's public visibility levels until you're ready just to give it to everybody. And that's the same with your jobs as well in education. I think education now doesn't automatically trigger a notification, but you're definitely, if you're starting a new job, if you don't want people to know, you can just turn it off before you save the update on your profile. So that's a little tip there if that works for you. And the final one here, which I always forget about this, but I think it's probably my best tip today. So if you're in LinkedIn, did you know you can measure the strength of your profile and presence with the social selling index? So you go to linkedin.com/sales/SSI. So you put that into profile or into your browser, and there's just loads of information there about how LinkedIn sees the strength of your profile and presence. So I think that's a really, really good tip. And I'll also put a link in the show notes about tips how you can improve your profile as well. Because it's okay seeing the figures, then what can you do with it? And it goes with the tip I think we've probably might have mentioned before, but certainly we'll probably mention time and time again. Don't just connect with anybody. Connect with positive people. Follow positive people. It's the same for all the platforms. If you associate yourself with people who put out rubbish content, then the risk is that maybe the algorithms may also do the same and kind of treat you in the same form if you do a lot of it on a repeated basis. Bless you.
I had to cover my mic.
That's all right. But I hope you found this podcast useful. Kind of our time's up, and we really appreciate your time and listening to us today. Let us know if you use any of the tips, and if you have any questions. Our email address and social channels are in the show notes. Please make sure you hit subscribe. That's our call to action to receive the next episode automatically, like Emma was saying earlier on. Before we quickly go, I was about to say just do the final sign off, but I forgot to say we've got some facts as well that we want to kind of share. So my fact of the episode is that the internet has 4.54 billion users, which I think we always seem to forget. It's just a few of us on the internet, but actually there's billions of us. So who would like to go next with their fact?
I was on a walk with my little 10-year-old the other day, and he couldn't get his head around that the internet had been created while I was at school. He couldn't get his head around that. We had to Google it, and that he just couldn't imagine that. But that's not my fact. My fact is to do with Reels, and which have only been around, obviously, since sort of mid 2020. Different countries got it at different times. But the LA Lakers, who obviously are creating Instagram Reels gold all day long, but the LA Lakers had a reel that has already had over 4.1 million plays just from one 15-second video.
Wow.
You could be the next LA Lakers. You just don't know.
What about you, Gemma?
Well, this used to be my favourite fact when it comes to things like this, but I would have to fact check it 100% to make sure it was still true. It was before. More people in the world own a mobile phone than a toothbrush.
Wow, I love that fact.
Mhm.
That's
And it
also
was.
really
I
scary.
need to fact check that, so you'll have to put that in the notes. But that was true up until about a year or so ago. So I do need to double check that. But that's always been my favourite fact. So I really hope it's still true.
And that is a great way for us to wish you well with your dentist
Dentist
appointment.
appointment. I know.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking.
And to say good luck with that, and have a lovely time.
Right. Okay. Well, until next month's episode of the Like, Click and Share podcast, keep well and have a great month ahead. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.